Hey everyone, Wobbly Giraffe here. I want to go ahead and provide some updates and talk a little bit about one of my experiences recently. For what past 2 weeks, maybe a week and a half, I've gone on a road trip across essentially the southeastern. I always get the west and east mixed up for some reason, but southeastern United States. I visited Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia. I think I ended up in Maryland. I'm not sure that I made my original destination, which was Pennsylvania. I was hoping to visit Ohio, Tennessee, and I think Texas. Obviously the state's kind of between those. Um, and it was a fantastic journey. I met a lot of very interesting, good people. And that was very spiritually rewarding. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. So I met a lot of regular people in different circumstances, trying to make the most of their lives. And there were a lot of different approaches to this, a lot of different perspectives. And that was kind of what's interesting, and background stories and kind of going forward plans, right? That's what made it interesting. I met this lady who was working the night shift at a hotel, definitely an elderly lady, and was raising her granddaughter by herself. And I think she was working very odd hours. And she said she didn't really have a spare moment of time. It was either work or the grandchild. And I found that interesting. She definitely was a little down, but was trooping through it or what have you. I love that word trooping. It's probably not even a word, but she was trooping. I met another lady that was working 16 hours a day in a gas station to pay for her children's college education. She was divorced, so I think she was doing it mostly by herself. Maybe she had some support from the husband. But her daughter had just gotten into a very prestigious university somewhere up north. So I thought that was awesome. And she was very excited about that. Her daughter's graduation from high school had been the day or two before. Um, and that was a very good story. She's very happy. Um, uh, then I met this one guy, and it was a very real conversation. Um, I I think his was probably one of the ones I found more impactful because of kind of how open he was. But it was a guy that had ended up a felon. Now I am assuming that everything he told me was true. To be honest, I don't know, but I had no reason to doubt him. But he ended up a felon because some kids threw some fireworks in the bed of his truck that were like illegal in his state. I think they're like M82 mortars, like those big fireworks. And they essentially like shot them off at neighbors' houses who called the police. And he was out of town at the time, but they had put some of the fireworks in his truck. And he wasn't friends with these kids, right? The kids were neighborhood, troublemakers. And I think the kids had shot off lots of fireworks or something and were able to dispose of them and basically put the blame on him. So he went to prison. And that kind of stinks because he seemed like a pretty good guy. He was very rough and definitely like on alert. But I kind of talked to him a little bit about programming and just other career paths he was trying to figure out. But he found himself uh, always unable to kind of move forward in that regard because of his record. So that was an interesting story because he was a good guy and like he wanted to make it work and he definitely was trying to kind of figure that stuff out. Um, and he felt like he was kind of fighting metaphorically for his life, and I found that very real and down to earth. So I'm very thankful for that one as well. Um, I mean, there's so many stories. I don't even know which ones necessarily to tell. So I'll leave off on one more story and then kind of what happened during this road trip. So one more story that was probably my favorite. Each one was successively my favorite until I got home. But this guy I met in Virginia, I think, very nice man, very one of the nicest people I've ever met, and he was the janitor at a hotel, and we chit chatted just about so much, and he was a very positive guy. It was really nice. And he told me about Monticello that was nearby, which is Thomas Jefferson's home. And uh, so I got to visit there. I didn't even know it was like down the street. It was literally down the street. And the only reason I knew it was there was because of this guy. And that was awesome. Now, this guy definitely shook quite a bit. And I hesitate talking about this in this video, but I think it's a good kind of learning lesson. But this guy shook a bit, and I'm not really sure why, and I didn't ask, right? I think that's what's important. So I was curious about it, but I didn't ask because I'm sure that that guy probably has been asked or even picked on or bullied for that for a while, right? I mean, he's a very nice guy. Like, who cares, right? Um, and I think my aunt or someone said he might have Parkinson's. I don't know. I would assume there's probably a couple of conditions that can do that. But spiritually, I felt like the best conversation was with him, because there's no hatred or resentfulness in his personality, despite whatever he had that probably gave him, I want to say license, but he had every reason to say be angry or sad about. So that was one of the better ones, if not the best. So I got to visit Monticello because of it. I also saw my first mountain from Monticello. I think I went straight west until I was like on the edge, and I saw all these mountains. I was driving up in a mountain pass, which was wonderful, absolutely beautiful. I was looking out over these prairies, and not like prairie. There's no prairies in Virginia, but fields, farms, small towns, everything. So it's very spiritually rewarding in that sense. And then I just came on home. I mean, I passed through rough neighborhoods, I passed through rich neighborhoods, I passed through big cities, I passed through small towns. So all in all, it was the most spiritual experience of my life. I also found there's this park in Virginia that was wonderful. On the other hand, uh, it was the roughest, one of the worst experiences of my life. So we don't throw out the good with the bad. We learn from both. Right? And here is why it was bad. So I took that trip on false notions, I guess. I had a friend in Pennsylvania that was inviting me to go up there. And I was like, I've never seen America. I could really use something like that. And that didn't pan out at all. So I traveled halfway across the country, not halfway, but I traveled a bunch across the country, essentially on, I don't want to say it was a lie, but on essentially on a misunderstanding. Absolutely, 100% misunderstanding. And that really hurts my pride. Now, I don't blame this friend at all. That the misunderstanding was definitely on me. But in that context, I was like, oh. And uh, so, I mean, I still made the most of it. Very spiritual once again. So that was like the underlying reason to do something was stripped out of the trip. So that was very hard to grip with. And I found myself pissed. I found myself sad. I found myself just going through the motions, right? And the follow up is I lost 2 credit cards. I got replacements. I don't think there were any false charges. I got to check those. Which, oopsies. Uh, Google Maps cut out on me, like up in Virginia or North Carolina. So I was going fully by like ear and eye, right? And the signs up north change a lot. So it's like you can be going down a road and then it changes into another road and it's not clear that's another road. And there's also a lot of like circling back roads, right? So you can go down a road and somehow end up going the opposite way. I think at some point I was going like 100, I went like 100 miles in the wrong direction. So it's like, oh, I'm on the right road. I'll just keep going straight. Like what in the South, you do that, you're fine. Not the North. So yeah, um, I wasted. I didn't waste. I didn't waste because once again, spiritual. Right, I made the most of it, but my time probably would have been better off spent on something else. So there's that. And even now, I'm kind of like, oopsies. If I had understood better, there wouldn't have been that misunderstanding. Um, what also I think contributed is a medical condition that I have. I'll be open about this. I don't like to talk about this stuff, but I think I've been getting better. I hope. And so I've been a lot more open about my life, which typically I don't talk about at all. And I would say I have this medical condition that I don't fully understand, and doctors way too expensive. Can't excuse. They want to run all these tests. It's like I'm not a millionaire. I don't know what to say. And it's hard to pin down this condition, right? So I think sunlight helps me out a lot, which I know gives vitamin D3. I started taking vitamin D3 supplements based on what a doctor was saying. I actually saw a video recently saying like not to take those. I stopped taking those and I feel better. I know a lot of those are made overseas and like there's not a lot of testing on what goes into them. So it's like frustrating. But anyhow, I seem to have this condition. At the very least, I'm pretty sure I'm gluten intolerant, and it's amazing how many things have gluten. And I learned about this like 6 months ago tops. So it's like it's been a process adjusting because I'll go and get something. I'll be like, oh, there was gluten in that? I know there's gluten in that, and my stomach's starting to churn. My mood just I get angry. My mind races, and it's like, oh, gluten in that. It seems like vitamin D3 supplements make it worse as well, like very, very bad, which a lot of doctors have said to take. So there is that component. So in the context of this, like I was not sleeping very well most of those nights, mind racing, just kind of flowing through things, which makes everything tougher. I encourage people, please get good sleep. If you're not, try to get multiple opinions from different types of doctors as well. Don't just take people's word for something in regards to that, because I mean, everyone was like, "Oh, vitamin D3 will help you." Like, definitely did not. Um, so there's that. Um, so to be honest, I'm not really sure what I have. If it's like irritable bowel syndrome, which I'm kind of ashamed to admit that, but it certainly seems like certain foods like trigger uh, lots of issues for me, and most of it's mental, right? So I know a couple of my friends have similar intolerances to food, like they'll get rashes. I typically don't get like a physical sign, but I just feel like very out of it. Um, and my options, unfortunately, in this case, are kind of limited. It's either see a doctor and get how many tests done. I've seen some, right? I've definitely seen some, or figure it out myself. And a lot of the research out there is not very good, not easily digestible to a normal person. Uh, there's a lot of stuff that's just false out there. And this applies in other conditions as well. I'll be very honest about that. And so you can be doing something that you think is helping you and it's not. And that then leads to all these other issues, right? Because for me, it seems like certain foods just make my mind just out there, right? Like I can tell you, I eat Taco Bell. It's like I'm a madman at that point. Okay, uh, I'll be very honest about that. It's like I don't eat Taco Bell for that reason, right? I don't know what's it. I mean, it's good food, not good for you, but like I don't know what it is. And I mean, it has wheat, it has gluten for sure, it has cheese. I know most people are not lactose intolerant nowadays. It's amazing how much stuff has cheese. It's amazing how much stuff has wheat. And so if I eat something like Taco Bell, right, and it's making my stomach, making my brain race, right, and I eat it, right, and I eat it before sleep. It's like I'm not gonna sleep, right, or I'm not gonna sleep very well at the very least. And then that just has all these other issues that the next day, like, oh, my mood is down, I feel bad, I'm sluggish. I mean, that affects driving, for instance, or work, or like, you know what I'm saying. So this video is a little bit about my condition, what I went through on this road trip, but still my successes, um, and the problems going forward, right? So I feel a lot better. That's for darn sure. Uh, I don't know if I have like a monthly cycle of flare ups. I think that kind of seems to be the case, but I might do the keto diet because I know that helps a lot. Uh, so we'll see there, because I do think that helps a lot. And I've been able to better pinpoint a lot of foods that affect me in that regard. Uh, but it's always a crapshoot, because if there's some new food, I'm like, oh, that looks healthy, that looks good, I'll try that. Roll the dice. Sweet. So I'm now in a very awkward situation where I really believe in this stock and I really want to do research on it. Uh, but I don't know. And I'm half tempted to say screw it, but I ended up needing to sell a large portion of my position due to, well, having to cover some of the finances that I probably should not have occurred on this road trip, because I shouldn't have taken it due to a misunderstanding. So I still have some of the holdings in that position. I still like the strong. I still like the confident. I feel better than ever, even though I feel crushed down inside. I mean, the past couple of days have been a roller coaster of emotion. I'm like, that was the best experience of my life. And I'm like, oh Lord, what's gonna happen to me? Because I lost passwords to everything, credit cards, you name it. Right? I didn't even mention getting some accounts hacked and all that shenanigans. So I'm in limbo. And I know I can research this stock. I know that I can absolutely finish my research on this stock. However, I appear to be in limbo. I'm not really sure what to say here at this point. I feel like I covered most of my angles. But to me, this trip was the most spiritual aspect of my life. Even though it was taken on a absolute misunderstanding of a very high proportion. Where's my coffee? Screw it. Uh, to me, I want to finish my research on this stock. The reason I say that is because on this trip, I saw tens, if not hundreds, of people that were downtrodden and feel left out by a system, financial system in this case, that abandoned all Americans. JP Morgan manipulated the silver market and it's worth $3 trillion. They get third, fourth, and fifth yachts, while regular people have to suffer the hidden tax of inflation, which is going to be ridiculous in the next 2 years. I want to research this stock for those people. And even though I talked to them about it on the road trip, and some of them live quite meagerly, unfortunately, I know that in the next couple of years, those people will feel much better about their situation. And I want to find every single one of those people, make sure that they're doing fine. And in that context, even though this journey was taken on an absolutely insane notion that turned out to be not true, I still like the stock. And part of the beauty of this journey, besides it being positive and spiritual, part of the beauty was that it absolutely sucked because of that. The original objective was getting to Pennsylvania was not achieved and was wholeheartedly false. Right? And in that context of driving home, of almost getting there, but having to drive home something like 1,000 miles, right? That was the longest walk of shame anyone has taken in the world. Most likely, I'm sure someone has done more, but that road was lonely, right? And in that car, I was pissed, I was sad, I was spiritual, I was praying to God, I was all over the place, as one is wont to be. And I realized a lot of truths about myself that they're personal. I won't share them on video, but I was able to see beyond myself at the parts of me that I do not like. Every day I have to fight, right? Just bad personality traits. Uh, some of them, being egotistical, yada, 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 just as an example. And that was the true beauty of this trip, besides meeting great people and being spiritual, like on that level of connecting with America, seeing Monticello, seeing mountains. It was also seeing the absolute monstrosity that my life can be at times. I find that hilarious. And having realized that, right, I think everyone should go for a road trip if this is the end result, because it's good, right? It's good. Having realized that has awakened my spirit higher than anything else on this planet could do. Was that shame, that resentment, that anger at basically misunderstanding my friend. Constantly misunderstanding, that much I'll say. But like, damn, if I am not fully, what's a good word? I, I'm trying to think of a good metaphor here, and I'll end the video. And I'm not sure that I can. I'll say this. I lost everything on that road trip. That fundamentally, I have no value to my name at this point. But I realized that. I think somewhere along there, I was like, smart person, blah, 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 blah. Egotism, right? On that drive home, I realized that fundamentally, I am a very small fish in a very big pond. And in the past, right, I would give up. And I'm pretty sure the past couple of days I've just been a roller coaster of emotions. I probably will be for a couple more days until my brain like clicks in this good mode, right? But part of the trip was I saw a lot of other people that felt the same way, right? Every single person I talked to, everyone has different issues or things they're passionate about. The general consensus was people feel very powerless, just regular people, just whatever it is, finances, family, school, you name it, right? And the type of people I generally was attracted to more were those that were trying to make it work. Okay. Generally speaking, everyone was like, I don't feel like this is a good situation, but that's the way it is. And the difference between the people that I liked and the people that, I'm still happy to talk to, but I didn't really jive with per se, was the people that I liked were the ones who were like, yeah, this situation sucks. Sometimes in harsher words. I mean, I don't like saying that word, but that's what they said. So, sometimes the situation sucks, but it's like, I accept the reality of it, and I'm gonna do everything I can to fix it, right? And make it work, right? And the other people that I talked to were kind of like, this situation sucks. I'm gonna mope around. And what's funny about that is I've talked about this to friends and family like 2 days ago, and then for the past 2 days I was moping. Not past 2 days, but yesterday. I did have work yesterday, so I mean, there's some stuff. But uh, in closing, I'll say this, that I can only hope that we all get that chance that we deserve in life. And to me, I feel like this is the opportunity of a lifetime. And I really hope that in my misunderstanding of the situation with my friend in Pennsylvania, I did not, uh, I'm working on not cussing. So, pour this opportunity down the drain. And I probably have. Sad thing. My bank account is destroyed. Now, I have my tax refund coming, so I can avoid bankruptcy for 2-3 months. I find this hilarious. And I mean, I'm looking at jobs. I will be fine, absolutely. Uh, However, right, so I don't care about the money. I'll be fine. Come on, guys. Guys and gals, my family and friends watching this, right? So don't worry about me. Don't be texting me asking me if I need financial help because I don't. I don't want it. You get out of here. I will handle myself. All right. Uh, that being said, in my panic, in my moping, the past 2 days, I sold a large portion of my holdings in this stock that I love. And in it was my hopes and dreams for a major loss. And so I don't care about the bankruptcy. I will I will make sure that doesn't happen through sheer willpower alone. But not holding on to that stock that contained the fire in my spirit, spiritual sense, of course, has truly made me something of a dead man walking. And whereas I've had a friend or two before joke about that, Sabbath Joe, I have never felt so dead and so alive. And there is no way to channel that energy except into this stock, which now I'm like, oh snap, I'm screwed. I hope I'm not screwed. So that's the reality of the situation. I took a wonderfully terrible or terribly wonderful trip predicated on false notions, lack of sleep, taking bad vitamins, suffering from Lord knows what, right? I met some of the most amazing people, saw some of the most amazing places, such as the one of our founding fathers' homes. Really got a taste for American life. But in that understanding, probably have given up so much more. And I really don't want to have to accept that fact. So the question is, where do I go from here? And to me, the answer is that I will never want to follow anyone else in my life, even if they are saying the same thing as me. Because at this point in my life, I do not trust I don't mean this in a bad way. I don't trust anyone, right? It seems like every single person on the national stage is corrupt, or liar, or willfully inoffensive. That fundamentally, at the core of my being, I understand that there are tens, if not hundreds, of millions of Americans that are stuck and don't know the way out. And yet, here I am, even if I made billions off of the stock, which probably not going to happen now. That's the damn joke. I am not sure how I could help those people. And this trip was to meet that friend who works at a local level, volunteers with people, does very great things. Could have been the start of something wonderful, I figured. But I lost my train of thought. You'll have to forgive me. Still a little tired. I won't keep this video much longer, but suffice to say that I'm now a little stuck where I was not before this misunderstanding. And I'll get over it, maybe. Certainly a lot to live with on my back for for a long time. So I don't know what I'll do. I want to continue researching the stock because I'm pretty sure I know how to finish that research, right? Pretty close. All the components are there. I just got to finish filling in some numbers. I don't even know if I should at this point because my portfolio pretty fucking dead. Excuse my language. I didn't mean it, guys. So I'll leave it there. And I'll say this to my viewers. I hope you're doing well. I know I've talked a lot about this journey with some of you. Hopefully it has sparked some change in you for the better. I advise you against following your whims, especially if you haven't had good sleep or you've eaten Taco Bell. Always plan. Right? That way you do not face disaster. And when you make mistakes in your life, deal with it appropriately. Meditate, pray, go for long walks. Do not mope like I've been doing. Okay? Because if you mope, you end up moping forever. Okay? Anytime that you get down, right? And that happens. We all fail. Double down. Come back to what you were trying to do with the more complete understanding of your personality, your being, your soul, based on what that failure was, right? That's the only way, right? So I leave it there. I wish you all the very best. Do not have a misadventure like me, please. I love you all. Really do. And I hope you have found the videos on this channel to help you make good investment decisions, to help learn about stock market, bond market, commodities market, etc. And see some of the scary stuff happening. I hope that your wildest dreams can come true. That the tens, if not hundreds of millions of Americans and people around the world that feel left out of what increasingly appears to be a very rigged system can at some point reintegrate into a society that probably contributed to them being left on the roadside in the first place. That's all I can hope for. And I hope that some of you watching these videos make investment decisions that are good. I think I've laid out some of them. Profit, make money, take care of yourself, take care of your family, take care of your community, volunteer. I mean, donate food or something. Because this road trip really it showed me the best and the worst and downwards. So I'll leave it there as to not ramble. I hope my friend from Pennsylvania calls me, but I suspect that she won't. Most beautiful lady in my life. So I'll just have to ride off like a cowboy in the wind, huh? Ah, as I've taken to saying the past 2 days, I'll end on this. Such is life. So, bye bye, everyone. I love you. God bless you. God bless the United States, baby.